What is up, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of Father Dynasty. I'm your fatherly host, Chu, here in the manhole, here to talk a little fatherhood, fantasy football, and everything in between. And with me today is a very special guest. This episode would be dazed and confused because it's all right. Follow him on Twitter at @TheJoeyWright and check him out on the Fantasy Football Game Show at Front Yard Fantasy, the Pretend GM Fantasy Football Show at Football Guys, and his contributions to Better Sports Network and FanDuel. Joey, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that intro. I liked the Dazed and Confused references. That make me smile. It's one of my favorite movies. So,
absolutely. And yeah, whenever I feel like I have a good one, usually they kind of just come to me. We'll say them to my wife, and if I can get her to laugh, because usually I think they're pretty on the nose and kind of stupid.
They really are. Wives or jokes?
Oh no, usually my jokes are pretty like on the nose and purely dad joke humor. But when I thought of Dazed and Confused, I was like, I mean, he's a film guy, Dazed and Confused, right? We got it. So I was like, where's it on the stack?
Yeah, let me see. I got a nice little box out of this. Nice little Criterion set. Look at that. Whoa.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Great movie.
Love it. Getting into Keep Trade Cut, of course, on this show, everyone gets their own unique Keep Trade Cut. And much like the fantasy football tool that is much maligned but much used at the same time, it has three options there: keep, trade, cut. Keep what you like best, cut what's third, and trade, of course, second. So are you ready for your first topic?
I'm terrified. Let's go.
Let's do it. Lead with fear. I like this. So topic number one, the most dad. So these are those dad-specific things, and certainly after combing through your Twitter, things that I think you will very much appreciate, and it might be difficult to pick between these three. So what I've got here is a nice collection of New Balance 574s. You pick your colors on that one.
Okay.
Unlimited popsicles. I know it's a dad thing, whether it be candy popsicles, just bottomless. And the third one is proficiency with Legos. So I think
my God,
dads live vicariously through the kids.
I'm going to. Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to cut the popsicles. That's the one that's like that for me. That I was like, okay, that's the lowest on the totem pole. God, this. So if you don't know me, I am. People like Jordan 1s and they like all the different sneakers. I love New Balance 574s. One, they're comfortable, and I think they look really cool. And I'm so glad that I'm a dad that I finally get to wear them. Oh, my God, but if I don't say proficiency in Legos, because I want to spend time with my kids, and that's why I really enjoy doing Legos as much as I do. Like, I love Legos, building them in general, but, we've worked out a new system with my oldest daughter where she sorts them, and then I'll assemble. And it really works well. And so I'm going to keep the Lego proficiency to be a good dad. Oh my God, I'm going to trade the New Balance. It hurts because my collection, I think I'm at 8 pairs now. It's not a huge collection, but they're all beautiful.
No, that's fantastic.
That hurt. Oh.
and I do want to ask, though, I think I had seen one other type of shoe on there as well, but another big dad one that actually is a pair of shoes that my dad gets. Ironically, he gets the wide because that's another dad thing is getting wide shoes. But other than that, some Nike Monarchs. Are you familiar?
My father-in-law has the Air Monarchs.
Yep.
I can only be so much of a dad, and I don't know if I can cross over the Air Monarchs. That's a line I don't know if I'm ready to cross, but New Balance 574, they live in my heart forever, I think.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I remember like going through high school, probably more middle school, early high school, like New Balance were the thing. Like, all right, you're not going to tie them. You're going to put the tongue of the shoe up, and you're going to put on your New Balances. They quickly faded away, and then I found out they're like a dad shoe, and I'm like, wait, so 2 points in my life, I can just get a bunch of New Balances? This is great.
My first job, I was like 16. I worked at a shoe store in the summer, and I noticed all the guys would wear Jordans on the floor, but then when they went back into the warehouse, they all had New Balance on. And I was like, what is that about? They're like, well, put a pair on, and then it's been love ever since for me.
I think I just found the clip for this episode. Thank you, Joey. Oh, man. Well, I think we covered probably a couple of your favorites there, but this next one here, this next topic is Joey's favorites.
Okay.
And
All
this
right.
is it sounds like that first one was tough. This one, all three might be tough to kind of differentiate with here.
This is really fun, by the way.
I'm glad you like it. So,
Yeah.
of course, coming through your Twitter and looking behind you currently, I know a couple of things that you very much enjoy. So,
Oh no.
what I've got
Go
here
ahead.
is your 1,500 plus movie collection,
Okay.
your
Hmm.
any and all Liverpool memorabilia, and this might be the real wild card, any and all wrestling memorabilia.
Oh man. Um.
This is a super team right here.
Wow. Yeah, this is tough. Liverpool is my club in my heart for like the last decade, I would say. No, it's been over 10 years now. I've been really into Liverpool footy. I've got some scarves. I got a bunch of kits. I don't have much autographed memorabilia. Um, so it was Liverpool. What was the second? The pro wrestling stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God. All right, I'm gonna cut the Liverpool stuff just because quantity. Oh
Yeah.
wait, no. I'll cut the pro wrestling stuff.
Okay.
My best memories of pro wrestling are all tied to up here.
Gotcha.
I've got a few pieces of memorabilia. I've got some pops autographed. But meeting wrestlers and going to events. So cutting that memorabilia doesn't mean I have to cut pro wrestling because my best stuff with wrestling is all up here. So
There you go.
cut wrestling. I'm keeping the movies. Like it's like the one thing I just do. I have, and I'll trade the Liverpool memorabilia to my buddy Brian Quain that got me into Liverpool footy to begin with. It was like 3 or 4 World Cups ago. Had such a great time, and I was like, man, I want to like feel this year round. And he's like, come watch a Liverpool match with me. And we went to like some little English pub in Altamont Springs, Florida, and I mean, I fell in love with it. I just everything. It was just beautiful, and it's been great since, man.
It's a beautiful game. Oh, ironically enough, I'm currently wearing my high school soccer team shirt because I haven't grown since then.
Do I have to take my shirt off now?
Oh no, don't worry. Well, yeah, we'll have
good.
like in a week's time we'll follow through on that one. I'm I don't follow it as much as I used to. I'm a big Barcelona fan, and of course that was when they reigned supreme. It's a bit up and down since Messi left. I certainly liked him a lot when it was Samuel Eto'o was. I was a huge fan of him. And I mean, so many Ronaldinho, so many massive stars coming out of there. But I think the landscape has changed tremendously. Not just Barcelona, but a lot of other teams as well.
All the international transfers and stuff was a little shaky. So like my favorite sports memory actually has to do with Barca, the 2019 semifinal in the Europa or the Champions League with a corner taken quickly Origi when Liverpool beat Barca. Yeah, I was sorry to bring that up, but it was the happiest I've ever been with a sport.
And that is the saddest. I'm just kidding.
No, it was crazy.
Yeah. Say, well, that was tough for you to get through, and I didn't mean to put you through all that heat there. Something that I hope will be good for you in picking 3 things that you do enjoy is the bonus question, which relates to movies. So, my wife and I have reclaimed our basement from our son when we moved to this house about 2 years ago. On the finished side of the basement, it's the old school 80s, 90s wood paneling wall, that kind of stuff. So we basically just said, you go down there, it's carpeted, just basically destroy whatever you want. Don't break any glass though. And we've since reclaimed it. We put a pool table down there, dartboard, foosball table. And in terms of decorating now, my wife had actually thought of the idea of getting movie posters put on the wall. Love the idea. And we ended up with an odd number. In terms of equality, we would have had 4 and 4, but we had 7, so I got 4. And the 4 that I picked were Anchorman, Boondock Saints, Jaws, and Goldfinger. And my wife went with a bit of a different speed. So Mean Girls, Pretty Woman, and Harry Potter, I believe the Deathly Hallows.
Okay.
Very cool looking. Hogwarts burning down kind of thing. Very cool.
What's the Goldfinger poster look like? Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just fascinated by the Goldfinger. I have to send me a picture of it.
If I absolutely will. If I'm being honest, it was more because the Jaws one I knew that was like before I even like looked it up because it was kind of like looking it up and seeing like Jaws and Goldfinger are classic movies and I was like I know Jaws. I know what that poster looks like. The Goldfinger one it's aesthetically like it's not really cool. It's just more of I wanted a James Bond one and that movie really sticks out to me. So I was like I want this one. And I will admit, in terms of just visually, that's maybe the most boring one. I hate to say it, but I love the movie itself. So I was like, I got to go with it. It seemed like I could definitely see this outside of movie theaters, just kind of like letting you know that this movie is playing here. Not like artistically, like very vibrant or anything like that. But as I downplay it, I will still send you a picture though.
Please. Yeah. I'd like to see it.
Well, and so for you though, what would be if you had 3 movie posters and your wife and family don't get veto power? You get to pick any 3. What would it be?
So, I mean, I've done the movie poster decoration throughout my life a few times.
Nice.
My wife and I, we've gone more down the like the screen print avenue to where they're movie posters, but they're actually screen prints. Like a lot of local art film houses have started releasing them. Like when they have like a cult classic series, they'll release a screen print to go along with the screening. So we've gotten a few of those. But if I had to pick 3, man, Casablanca is going to be one of them.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's. I just watched it the other day. It's one of those movies I just put on now. One of my best movie going experiences for my 30th birthday. My wife and I, with some friends, went to the Tampa Theater. It's a theater I actually performed at when I was in high school in theater.
Nice.
And it looks like a Mediterranean village, a blue sky paint on the ceiling. It's gorgeous. And they showed Casablanca, and they had an organ player, and it was like one of the most beautiful film going experiences. So I want to honor that by getting Casablanca as a poster. There's a Wong Kar-wai film called Chungking Express. I just mentioned it the other day. I love Asian cinema, so I'd probably get that as a poster to kind of honor that part of it. And listen, I was a Spielberg kid, like everybody else, born in the 80s. Oh boy, E.T. or Jurassic Park. I'd probably go E.T. I love that iconic shot with Elliot and E.T. riding across the moon. And that poster is beautiful. I was just, my wife and I took our kids to like a little resort in Orlando. I was working at a home show last weekend, and they had a theater there at the resort. And we watched, I think it was one of the Shrek movies that was playing there. And we sat there and watched it. And they had movie posters in there. And they had the E.T. poster with the moon and everything. I also had the Jaws one too. That's a good one. The Jaws one, that's an iconic one.
Thank you.
That's tough, man.
It is
tomorrow.
tough.
Ask me the same question. I'll tell you 3 different ones.
That's right. I mean, when my wife had asked me, she came up with the idea, and we have the 7, so it's just downstairs once you get in the basement on one wall. But when she asked me, I was like, can we also do like down the stairs and everything? So I was like, I'm going to add Mortal Kombat. I have across many different genres. I have so many other ones that whether it be like, I like the poster is just, I like the movie itself, but the poster is great. Or like a Jaws or a Goldfinger, it's just more of an iconic movie that is just great to have up on the wall. Boondock Saints one looks awesome.
That Raiders of the Lost Ark poster is always it's beautiful as well. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll ask you tomorrow, and I'll edit in those answers. I'll be like, what he meant to say was, here you go.
Just bring me back every week, and I'll tell you 3 different ones I'd rather have.
There you go. Joey's new 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Jumping into life, if you will. I know, as you mentioned, playing Legos with your daughters, and to anyone that has more than one kid, I ask one simple question: why?
Why? So my wife and I, we really only ever planned on having one, and then we became Disney pass holders. And there's this magical thing that happens when you become a Disney pass holder. Your parents will watch your kids for a night, and you get to go to the parks by yourselves with just your spouse. And a night of drinking around the world, kid number 2, 9 months later, was on the way. And we had just gotten the passes too, so my wife didn't get to ride any rides that whole year when we were annual pass holders. But yeah, I mean, our second kid was not, was a surprise. It was a little terrifying, but like, I can't imagine any other way now. She doesn't like me, which is really funny because, like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain, but my oldest loves me. She is like a carbon copy of me, where my youngest is a carbon copy of my wife, which might explain why she doesn't like me, actually. Just kidding.
Oh man. Well, and I've heard from a lot of people, when they talk about whether they have 2 kids, 3 kids or more, is it seems like the biggest jump, or I guess adjustment, is going from 1 to 2, and then 2 to, I mean, not saying it's not a big jump from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, but once you have more than one at one time, that's a big jump. But I guess the learning curve, so to speak, is not quite as steep for beyond
Yeah.
just two. And then how far apart age wise are they?
3 years.
Okay.
3 years and 1 month. Yeah. So,
Gotcha. And so that means
good
the
age.
oldest is. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's not too far, but I mean, I guess in terms of like school wise, going through like, let's see, I guess would it be high school? They'd be like, one would be
A senior and a freshman
Gotcha.
would be the breakdown once they get there. Because
Gotcha.
my oldest is 6 and my youngest is 3.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
And the 6-year-old is very helpful, right?
When she wants no, here's the thing: is she's really, really smart. When she wants to be helpful, she's extremely helpful.
Nice.
She's definitely in that phase right now where she probably doesn't think helping is cool, but Tristan, helping is cool.
Another clip. I'll send it to you and just show
thank
it to
you.
every morning.
Yes.
Oh man. Well, so I guess with that, what would you say, parenting wise, what is maybe the most challenging and then the most rewarding thing that you got to experience?
I mean, the most challenging thing with even when it was just one, but with two is like I seem like a happy-go-lucky guy, and I'm always on, like carefree. But I mean, it's very easy to lose your temper when you got two kids in the house. And up until about 4 months ago, my wife and I were pretty much splitting duty, where I was at home with the kids all day, and I would work in the afternoons and evenings. And my wife was a school teacher; she'd only work during the day. Now, my wife, we both kind of have similar jobs, so we're both home a little bit more with them. But just controlling my temper with them. I mean, it gets tough, just 'cause you got to remember they're kids, they're little girls. I got to watch the tone of the voice. So that's tough. Rewarding. I mean, so I guess when you see something in them that they love, it's really fun. Like my oldest Tristan, she loves going on hikes and she loves nature. And I do this series with the Starts and Salutations where I go out into nature and I talk to animals and give fantasy football advice. And, a lot of that is so I could just kind of relate to my kids a little bit.
Nice.
And, some of the stuff, like cooking meth, it's not for the kids. But, the animal stuff is definitely for my daughter and going on hikes. We have a nature preserve that we were just at a couple weekends ago. And, seeing her interact with nature and telling me what different bugs are. And like, that's so rewarding, seeing how she's learning. And her mother is a biochemistry major and was a science teacher, so she loves that too. My youngest is rewarding. It's a little different because I said she doesn't like me. She likes me, but she loves her mom a lot more. But who I found that she does love is Kermit the Frog. So the Kermit time that I get with my daughter Eliza is a lot of fun. I just sit behind the couch and just move Kermit around. And lately it's been Bowser since the Mario movie. She wants me to be Bowser.
Yep.
So while my youngest doesn't like me, she likes the characters I do. So the time I get with her is really rewarding. It's really fun.
And vicariously, I mean, if she's liking the character, she's liking you because you are these characters.
Yeah, but if I poke my head up behind the couch, she's like, "Daddy, go back down. I want to talk to Kermit." And I'm like, "Okay." So it's a little, she puts me in my place, but she's so bossy.
No, and I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess with the challenges, the good things and the bad things is, I mean, kids are, I guess when you think about it, you think of kids as unfiltered and like they're there to, be molded and that sort of thing. But until having them, it's realizing, oh, it's unfiltered in the like the furthest positive extreme and then the furthest negative extreme of if they don't want to do something or they don't like what's being said, it will be yelled back in your face. Or if they do want something and they're about to get it, they will do a backflip off the coffee table and start running around the house because they're so excited. And there's sometimes no in between. But
yeah. How old is your kid?
He is 4. He'll be 4. He's about 4.5 now. Yeah, so he'll be 5 in November.
So you're in the middle ground.
Yeah, he is the chaos creator. That's for sure. But yeah, it's always interesting for whenever it's meeting another, on the playground, wherever it may be, that there's another kid at his energy level, and then it's just like, you got 20, buddy, just go for it. Like I know when you come back, you won't be exhausted, but it'll hit you at some point in the day, like, get the zoomies. And then like, once he actually fights me a little bit and then he's like, all right, you're going to go to sleep for as long as you possibly can. Cause I'm exhausted and I need to go to sleep, but yeah. But, like you mentioned, talking about the schedule and that sort of thing, balancing it with your wife and of course having 2 kids, what does that look like? I mean, in balancing, your jobs, content creation, any kids activities, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time job that I do like during the day, and I work for two websites, and then being a dad and a husband. Um, I think the most important thing is just communicating with my wife. And we've got a calendar. I had a really great conversation with Jim Coventry at the Fantasy Football Expo last year, and he kind of gave me a lot of really good tips on just how to be a dad and make it work. And definitely when this quote unquote off season, giving them a little bit more time, just to do dad stuff, taking a afternoon away with my kid instead of readjusting my rankings for the 900th time. It's kind of learning where to put the work in and where I can put the work in later. Is as selfish as that sounds, but making sure that they feel valued. I had a coworker that I worked with when I worked for Barnes and Noble for a while, and his name was Phil, and I'll send Phil this episode, but he always talked about the pie. With everything in his life, there was always a pie, and you just got to make sure that everything's equally balanced. And the things that should have smaller pieces definitely have smaller pieces, and things that have a big chunk. Like I am adamant with my wife, like every 2 weeks, we have to go on a date night. We have to go do something. Send the kids to my mom's, and we need to go out and like be married. No kids. But then I'm also like, okay, Tristan, Saturday morning, we're going for a hike, and then we're gone for 2 hours. And I get that alone time with her. I say to Eliza, hey, Eliza. She's like, go away. I'm like, all right. Well, eventually you and I will get on the same page, but not right now.
So. No, I mean, that's great, though, that it's, when it's thinking about, getting everybody together, it's like, all right, I can maximize it. We all sit at the dinner table, and that'll be, everybody gets the time. And it's like like you're saying, of getting that actual time of like one-on-one time with everybody in a meaningful way. Like you're saying, you're picking each of these things that you connect with the most, with your wife and with your kids, and saying this can be the time when we're bonding because, as schedules get hectic, I mean, even on a week-to-week basis, I'm sure it may not be necessarily the same thing, but it's, calendar is king. And my wife we have the Google Calendar where anytime anything is literally just scheduled at any moment, we'll just, get the email, and let's see, how many things do we have up? My wife has a massive whiteboard in her office, which is awesome. She's a real estate agent, so she's, always juggling some stuff, and getting a chance to have the calendar like on the fridge, which is just, just the classic, assume my son doesn't wipe off the bottom half, which he's done a couple of times. My wife doesn't like that very much. But yeah, I mean, just being able to balance everything as much as reasonably possible. And I really like that pie analogy of, there is only so much time to go around. And, certainly it's best to take care of ourselves because, as we can maximize the amount of energy we have, we can't change the amount of time in the day. So getting to be really honed in and focused on whenever we get that time with those people. Yeah.
I mean, it's, finding out really quick when you've got kids or a kid and you get married and, life starts moving along, you start to find out what's like really important to you. I have a lot of friends that'll say, hey, Joey, did you watch this TV show? And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys, I don't watch TV. Not that I don't love TV programs and I wish I had the time for it, but for me to sit down and watch a TV series, that means that I'm either taking time away from doing the football work, taking time away from my kids, or I'm not going to watch a movie if I have any spare time. And so I kind of made that decision, put that line in the sand. I was like, I'm the movie guy. If I have that little bit of extra time, I'm going to watch a movie. And probably about once a year, I watch a TV series. Like, I'm like, okay, well, this, I think Simon from FYF, we're going to start Succession together because neither of us have seen it because we've heard great stuff about it. So
yes, absolutely watch it. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will reiterate that plug again. That show is awesome. It's a bummer that it's coming to an end. Although with the plot, I can appreciate that they're going to end the show when they are, because I think when shows are very good, it's disappointing when they just extend it for as long as they can, milk the money for. But I think they're very wise to be cutting it off when they are, because I think realistically with the plot and everything, I think they've maximized. Every season's good. There's drama. There's the acting's great. It's very interesting, very different from a lot of shows I've seen before. So yeah, strongly recommend that. But
gotta go out on top.
That's right. And yeah. In terms of, you talked about the off-season a little bit. So what does the off-season from a content creation standpoint, normally look like for you?
It's funny. I feel like the off-season's more stressful for me than the in-season, because the in-season, I know what I'm doing, what days I need to do stuff, and everything's much more planned out. It's a little more chaotic in the off-season. I get a lot more time with the family, and but I guess it's a little bit more difficult to compartmentalize. But this year, this summer, we're going back to Colorado, my wife and I. But this time we're bringing the kids and my mom with us and go out to Rocky Mountain National Park. I think we're going to go down to Garden of the Gods and go hiking with, I think you've had him on the show, Dave Kluge. We got to, my wife and I got to go visit Dave and his wife up in Fort Collins last year. So that was really fun. Spent an evening with them at the movies and at a brewery. So that was a lot of fun. But we're going back this year. We just fell in love with it. Hopefully the Wrights might be putting down some roots there at some point. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's not the reason for the trip, but it kind of is. Trying to get my mom to fall in love with it too.
Hey, you're scoping out places. I like it.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, let's just check out a couple open houses. Oh, it really is. Because I currently live in Southwest Virginia, so we have the Appalachian Mountains. Live in a valley, so it's kind of like I remember the first time basically I left like the area. It was on a school trip, and it was going to Atlanta for like a band trip. And the funny thing was, like, we got there, and like I'm looking around, I'm like, yeah, but where's anything like the mountains and that kind of thing? Like, it was just so bizarre. Like, just growing up in a valley, basically, it's like, how can I not look around and see a mountain or something like a hiking trail or something like that?
Yeah.
And my brother had briefly lived out in Colorado, and the funny thing was going out there and seeing that. That was like, oh, this is a different level. This isn't. It's beautiful. We got out there, I think, right before a snowstorm hit, which was nice. Although the funny thing was, the rental car that my wife and I got was a Chevy Spark.
Oh no!
I was like, let's see. I think by the time we got in with our flight, it was, midnight around that time. It was packed at the rental place. I was like,
oh no.
I would like to think you have something better than a Chevy Spark. And then they're like, oh, these are all taken or whatever. I'm like, I think we're not going to make it back, guys. Like, you're going to find this thing flipped over on the side of the road. Yeah. Like, if it snows, we're done. But no, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful out there.
Yeah, we did last summer. My wife and I did the hike up to Emerald Lake at Rocky Mountain National Park. It's right above Bear Lake. It's like a round trip, like about a 4-hour hike, and got to Emerald Lake at the top and just, picturesque mountains. And I just looked at my wife and I'm like, it's pretty much one of the best days of my life. Just it's unfathomable how beautiful it is out there.
Oh yeah. And I do have to ask, of course, I know you're shouting out Dave. What movie did you watch with Dave when you went out there?
Oh God. Do I want to say? So I'll preface this. There were 2 movies out at the time. It was Top Gun and Jurassic Park. My wife and I had seen Top Gun the night before. So the Kluges were nice enough to be like, hey, let's go see Jurassic Park, the new Jurassic Park movie. So that was fine. It was what it was. But the new Top Gun, whew.
I was going to say, you didn't want to be like, I watched it a second time because it's fantastic.
We did bring that up, like seeing Top Gun a second time, and they were like, no, we don't want you to do that. I watch movies like 3 and 4 times. Like, Tar that came out last year, I've watched that movie 4 times. I want to punish myself, apparently, but it would have been no problem to see Maverick a second time. But
exactly, and you'd be trying to not get excited, like what's going to happen, like you just like whispering the lines. Dave's like, stop. Oh man. Gosh. So, well, jumping into a bit of your football fandom, the Cowboys. So, what are your expectations for the Cowboys in 2023? We've got the draft behind us, most of free agency presumably behind us, maybe a couple of signings trickling here or there. What do you think about the team within that division going forward?
I don't think they're going to win the division. I think the Eagles pretty much, I wouldn't say they have it on lockdown, but pretty firm grasp on it. So, but I do think the Cowboys are definitely a wild card team. They were 3rd last year in total points, and 2nd leading rushing touchdowns. I made a couple dynasty trades this offseason for Tony Pollard and was kind of biting my fingernails draft night for the first 2 days, I should say, just waiting for Dallas to draft a running back. And then the only running back they took was Deuce Vaughn. So I felt really good that it wasn't Zach Charbonnet. Of course, Bijan going there would have been detrimental to Tony Pollard. But, he's got the job this year. So I feel really great about Tony Pollard for fantasy. I have him as my RB6 right now, behind Eckler, McCaffrey, not in this order. Bijan is the one right before him. Saquon. Yeah, so I love Pollard this year. I think Dallas, remember the season with DeMarco Murray where Dallas just kind of ran him till he was in the ground?
Yep.
I don't think we're going to get that, but, Pollard's going to get a ton of work this year. I like Dak, mid-round quarterback. I would take him before Deshaun Watson. He's got 2 quality receivers with CeeDee Lamb. And then I like Brandon Cooks on the team. I think the arrival there, he can have a nice late swan song for his career. Interested to see what they do with the tight end. That Luke Schoonmaker is one of my favorite rookie late round targets. And if you're on a rookie draft and you're like a 4th round pick, he's usually hanging around there because that tight end room, it's kind of anybody's game. So, but yeah, I think Dallas is a wild card team. I love a lot of the fantasy pieces they have there. I would like to see Dak kind of hold off on the interceptions. He had, was it 15 last year? It's the highest rate of his career. Let's lower that down, Dak.
I was going to say, with the new OC in town, I know they were talking about maybe looking to commit more to the run, which was very interesting to say that they would do that. And then, like you were saying, not spend any, notable draft capital on, like a Charbonnet or Bijan or anything. So Pollard's going to get a firm grasp on that.
I wouldn't be shocked if Zeke comes back. I really wouldn't at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, they could get him for real low, comes in there. But I mean, this is Pollard's backfield now, even if Zeke comes back.
Yeah, looking at it, I was like, oh, it's, Pollard, Malik Davis. And I mean, just looking at which again, he filled in admirably, but I mean, Pollard doing what he did it feels like he's been doing it forever. It feels like it's been, when is Zeke going to just not give up, because he's been productive in whatever way he possibly can be. I know he's certainly, slowing down a bit over the years, but is just incredibly powerful, pretty slippery for, a guy his size, but the speed's definitely slowed down, and it seems like as he's kind of slowed down a bit, Pollard is ramped up, almost as much in the opposite direction in terms of his production. So very excited to see what they do. A loss that I had seen for them, which, in terms of them getting Cooks, I would say probably is not too notable. Noah Brown, I feel like, between him, Cedric Wilson a couple years ago, they always have that other receiver who is, sneaky good, maybe fantasy-wise not tremendously so, but, useful for the team. But
yeah, I wonder if Gallup finally performs well as a wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of thrust into this wide receiver 2 role. Was Gallup tailor-made for that? Probably not. So, now that he's wide receiver 3, maybe he'll get a little bit better numbers. But
yeah. And I will just say, I know you were talking about Schoonmaker, but Jake Ferguson, this guy's got it.
Yeah, it's anyone's job. It really is. It could just be spread around. It could, but I don't know.
Well, jumping into the final question here, I know that a fun thing I like to ask content creators is maybe what is, like your best piece of advice, kind of the thing to do. But I've learned that, maybe kind of looking at the inverse of that, as, we make our mistakes and learn from them. What is the number one thing not to do that you would tell an up-and-coming fantasy football content creator?
So before we started on the show, I was like, am I allowed to curse? And I'm going to curse one time. I'm going to say, don't be an asshole. It is something I see people fall into to get clout real quick, and clout, really, it's not worth anything. If your main focus in this is to stir up crap and start fights, just don't even bother. Be a helper. I can't tell you like how valuable it's been to be able to help people, but then have people help me. Someone coming, before I was even on a show to say, hey, do you want to come guest on the show? Terrified out of my mind, but, just helping me along with advice, anything. Just be a helper and don't be a jerk. Like being a jerk will get you nowhere.
And Joey, I'm very glad that you saved asshole till the very end of the show. I think that would be kind of the teaser of saying like, all right, well, when does Joey unleash it? So
Joey will curse. It's like, the great comedians, the ones that don't lean on the F word. But you know what? Marvel had their first F word in a movie this last week. I might as well drop one too. So
I love it. And yeah, it's, like we were talking about before the show, it is really such a nice space. I mean, there's, I feel like the overwhelming majority of the people in the space are, so giving, quick to offer help, or, maybe if, they don't have the answer, at least give some bit of advice, maybe say, hey, this helped me out a lot, or point out a resource that was good. So a lot of great people in the space. Absolutely. And yourself included, obviously.
Oh, thank you. And I'll say anyone watching this, if you ever have any questions, or if you're just starting out, because I was just starting out 3 years ago, and I just, joined a tournament. at Rasball, and they said, "Hey, you're funny. Do you want to come work for us?" And I was like, "What? Really? Sure." And I can't thank the people that helped me get to where I'm at now, which I'm like, I appreciate it so much. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, like, please, my DMs are open. Even to those bots that aren't real people, I still ask them questions too. When they are like, "Hey, I'm 24. I live in Russia. Do you want a friend?" I ask them fantasy football advice. It's a real fun thing I do.
Well, and they
never respond back.
Well, they need to learn too. So yeah, you need to interact so they can learn and grow. So maybe the next time they're interacting with somebody,
I'll
they
help
can.
anyone in the DMs, pop in there, and no, seriously, anybody needs help, let me know.
Well, no, I love to hear it, and Joey, I really appreciate you coming on. It was great to talk with you. But the guest does always get the last word on the show, and this can be a shout out, this could be a quote, this could be a cheers. I know you won't use it because you said you don't want to be an insult if you want to throw it somebody's way.
No, I'm not going to insult anybody. I said I'm a movie guy, but I'm going to use a TV quote. People ask me all the time, like, "Joey, why do you do this? Like, why are you the way you are?" Whether it's at my day job, whether it's in the fantasy space. And there's a quote from the UK office, not the US version, which was great, but from the UK version of David Brent, when he was asked what he wants people to remember him for. He said, "Simply as the man who put a smile on the face of everyone he met." And just like general kindness, being a good person. I used to be a real jerk. And that turning point when you just, let's put a smile on face, let's help people. It gets you so far. It really does. Just be a good person, everybody. Don't be a jerk.
That's a great way to sign off, Joey. And guys, just be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah,
all right?
Nice.
We will bully you into being nice. All right? No, Joey, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. And you have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.